All right, I'm back again. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming in, chiming in. Let's go ahead and make sure our audio's right on this before we turn around and get into this. Got a lot of stuff to talk about this morning. We ain't got a bunch of time to do it, but I'm definitely going to give you my opinion on what's taking place right now. Testing one. All right, cool. All right, cool. So it looks like we're good over here. Checking some of you guys over there on Facebook. Test checking you at Facebook. Okay, cool. So you're good over there on Facebook. All righty. All righty then. Yes, yes. Let me put some of this on. All right. Cool, cool. All right. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Thank you for jumping onto the stream. Leon, Duncan, Real Estate Lunchbox. This is the Real Estate Lunchbox where we talk about culture, we talk about real estate, we talk about business, we talk about all the things that you kind of need to know to have a holistic perspective on how to make money, how to get the bag, how to navigate in this current market. Shifts that are taking place globally, we'll talk about that. Locally, nationally, I always got something good to say, don't I? Always got something to say, man. Always got something to say. And if you're watching this in replay or you're watching it live, please like, subscribe, follow. Everything you do helps the algorithm. I'm just trying to debate right now who I want to start off with. Are we going to talk about Iran first, or we're going to talk about Anthropic first? Now, Anthropic, I'm lean to talk about Anthropic so much. But you know what? Before we even get into that, you know what we will talk about? Just to lighten this up, just to make it an easy transition, because politics sometimes can be a little bit heavy for some people. I know some people watch it, and they feel good. I'm addicted to politics. I love watching how people maneuver on a political landscape, whether it's Trump, whether it's even AOC. I just enjoy watching these people do what they do and how they maneuver. But sometimes it can be a lot because they do and say the same things over and over again. Not so much Trump, but yeah, so much Trump sometimes, but more or less AOC and some of these other guys. So the truth of it, the matter is, all of this stuff is holistic, but I got to start you off with something that's so important right now. You got to put this in the right frame. As we first, you know what? Let's start with let's start with this. Let's start with this because I think this is a good lead into Anthropic. What's taking place? We know that the market's changing. We're going to talk about AI when it comes to Trump, when it comes to this whole move with Anthropic. But the question is, Leon, you're going to talk about Anthropic. You're going to talk about Claude, AI. You're going to talk about all of this stuff taking place. How does this even benefit me? I was flipping through my TikTok the other day, and I said, man, I do a disservice to tell people how they really need to navigate right now. Whether you are trying to get a part-time job, whether you're trying to earn some additional income, whether you're looking at getting into real estate, or just you just need to make money. I always speak about digital products, content, and I'm gonna stack something else on top of that, sales, because God knows sales is the little brother or the brother to marketing. You start off in sales, then you go to marketing. You start off in sales. Some people just go straight into entrepreneurship, then they discover marketing, then all of that. Sales was my open door to entrepreneurship. If anything, I say sales can be a gateway drug to entrepreneurship. So that being the case, the question is, what do I do right now? Like, how do I navigate right now to put money in my pocket? I had a buddy of mine had the same challenge. He needed to travel all over the place. He said, Lee, we need to make some money. I need to make some cash real quick. I got like 6 months. I'm planning for this trip. I don't advocate this as a 6 month get rich quick type of scheme, but I do need to address the ability to be able to sell. Whether you are working in an AI space, being you're doing prompt engineering, UDX, whether you are selling life insurance and you're on a life insurance binge and you're trying to cover all the families. Whether you're doing real estate and you're like, or you want to do real estate, you're like, Leon, I want to do real estate. I would tell people this: in order to really be successful in real estate or have some level of progress in it, you have to be a good salesperson. Sales is not just the open door to entrepreneurship or the gateway drug to marketing. Sales, or even content creating, I'm gonna tell you, sales is the key to actually growing whatever you want to grow. So even if you're a contractor and you meet with people, you're gonna meet with them and you're gonna give them a proposal, but you still have to sell them on why you in opposed to someone else. I believe that sales has gotten such a bad rap where we get kids that don't even want to do sales when they get into college, get into school. They want to graduate, go work for corporate America, or graduate and go work for whoever they choose to, and they think that sales isn't important. I'm going to tell y'all right now, sales is the reason why Donald Trump is in office, because sales is a skill that you learn, and after you master it, you can easily go into marketing, and then from there easily go into entrepreneurship, because even the best developed device, product, digital product, property that you close on, all of these things are going to need sales in order to progress to the next level. Somebody's going to have to show that person why me, why this situation, and opposed to another. A lot of people go and interview. Some of you guys in college, if you're watching this, please share it with your kids. If they're going to be in college or if they're going to be pursuing a career outside of college, you're going to sit in front of the person you interview with. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to literally sell you on their company, but they're going to sell you on your need for a job first. I mean, you already sold, you applied, but they're going to show you how, oh, yeah, we do this, we do that. Qualify yourself to see if you fit in our organization. And really, in essence, you should be qualifying them to see if you fit, if they fit in your life. That really should be. But you can't you can't present yourself at the best light without knowing how to actually sell. Okay? And sales it's not complicated. I believe anybody can learn how to sell. I believe that's probably the missing ingredient that can shift a lot of households right now when you talk about income. It's different to be able to drop yourself, to be dropped in another state or in another city, and you know you've done XYZ for years, and now you want to create or build your new client database or client list. You're going to have to learn to sell. Selling, people say, I don't want to cold call. Man, there are sales positions where you can turn around and actually deal with, well, let's talk about this. Let's go. Because at the end of the day, it's easier for me to show you than for me just to tell you. Well, show and tell.
I don't know who needs to watch this video, hear this shit. Get a sales job, and I swear to God, your life will completely change. Bro, listen, I spent the last 4 or 5 years, whatever, out of high school trying to find out what I was gonna do, because I knew I hated college. Like, I hate schoolwork in general. Like, I knew that wasn't the route for me. As much as I see them Latinas partying and shit, as much as I've been tempted to, I knew that wasn't for me. But I spent the last 4 or 5 years trying to find out what I was gonna do, find out what job I wanted to do, you know, bouncing back between retail jobs, warehouse jobs, trying to do electrical. I hated all that shit, and none of them ever paid me good, especially with the economy we have right now. But my last job, I was trying out electrical. I was like the most depressed I've ever been, in the worst mental state, physical shape of my life. But if there's one thing about me, I am not scared to fail, and I'ma always take a risk. So what did I do? I got a sales job. Now, obviously, there's so many different types of sales jobs you can get. For me, I chose car sales. And let me tell you, my Lord, God has been blessing me. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, there's many different types of sales jobs, commission-based, whatever. I know as far as car sales, you know, it's different for every dealership. But, bro, get you a sales job. Stop wasting your time trying to find a retail job, or being at a retail job, or just at a job you hate. If you have an outgoing, funny personality, or you just like talking to people in general, bro, go make you some fucking money. I've honestly been wanting to do car sales for a while, not because I like selling cars, but because I wanted to get in sales and I knew it could make me a good amount of money. And as scared as I was to do it, I said, fuck it. I took the risk, and now I'm making crazy money. And when I mean crazy money, obviously not rich, not wealthy, but way more than what I've ever would have made at all the other jobs I've ever had. There's some days where I make an entire month's worth of my old job in 1 or 2 days here doing car sales. Like, it's crazy. And I've been able to actually hang out with my friends, spend money. I plan on traveling, late this year or, next year. I'm finally able to get tattoos, which I've been wanting for such a long time. Certain materialistic things. There's just so much benefits to getting a sales job and actually making some good money, bro. And I'm really only telling y'all this because I spent and wasted so much time with these simple jobs not paying shit. If I would have started with this like straight out of high school, oh my gosh, I can only imagine. So yeah.
He's nailing it. And that's what happens to a lot of people who venture into the sales space. I mean, you spend time working janitors. I was sky capping before. I've worked it, and when I say sales, I know retail is a type of sales job, but it's not as impactful as a W-2 or 1099 sales job where you're actually meeting people, presenting a product, evaluating their needs, see if it's a good fit, and then actually closing the deal. So, and you heard what I said, closing the deal. That's big boy talk. We're not talking about selling jeans in somebody's store, which is cool because I did that too. I did the Gap. I did the Structure, member Structure when that was out back in the day. I'm telling on myself. Speedo, yeah, I worked for Speedo too back in the day, telling on myself. But at the end of the day, whether you are in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, even in your 50s, it doesn't matter. What I love about sales is sales, it's not an age thing. It's really about how much do I want to practice? How much do I want to present myself? How much do I want to speak to people? That's going to determine how much I make money, how much money I make. And because you're on the front lines presenting, what typically happens is that person grows that connection with you, and the money you make is a lot more than you would make if you were presenting a pair of jeans to someone at a local retail store, for example. Sales has its advantages, and we have to stop belittling it, making it look like it's nothing, because you can do a sales job, make 20,000 that month, 10,000, 5,000 that month, and change the course of your life, especially when the market like it is right now has people quitting, getting out, losing things. This is the way that you kind of shift the ground underneath you. Sales.
I really hope this video helps someone out, man. If you hate your job right now,
I'm not gonna lie, and this video is only going to apply to a certain small subset of people, but if you're 22 years old and you're a really good yapper and you work really hard and you're financially motivated, sales is the best job for you. Any sort of sales job is going to be a very good job for you. Because here's the thing. If you are young, you can afford to take the risk in sales. Because you are working on a base salary that is likely very low, you can afford to take the risk when you're young. When you've got kids and a mortgage, it's very hard to pivot into sales if the base salary is low. So when you're young and your cost of living is supposedly low, because let's say you live at home or you live with roommates, it's the perfect time to try out sales as a career. Number two, sales pays out on commission for the most part. So even though your base salary, like mine, when I started off was $35,000, my total income that first year was $87,000 and some change. Now think about it. The second year, your income actually grows by leaps and bounds because you're now making more money than your first year. And that's another really cool thing about sales, is that your income grows exponentially. It's not growing at a static X percent a year. A base salary job might just jump up by $5,000. Not in sales. My second year in sales, I made over $130,000. My third year in sales, I made over $215,000. With that kind of money, you can literally change your life.
And you hear, you can literally change your life. So as AI is changing and doing what it's doing, as people are losing their jobs and they're bringing in more AI systems, guess who needs to present these systems to people, to corporations? Salespeople. I was for a short time working in a BDR, SDR role, and I'm gonna tell you, it's not the biggest sales position. And if you don't know what BDRs and SDRs are, they're like business development reps. They're the people that actually make the calls, talk to to the high-end execs, the CFOs, the CEOs, the COOs. They speak to them and convince them that the product that they have would actually meet their need, or really do an assessment to see if the product that they have meets their needs, and then convince them or show them the positives and the strengths of working with them and what their product has to offer that can actually change what they do. And when you have that type of interaction and you're talking to high level executives, now you're going to find that you feel more comfortable in your day to day life approaching that female, approaching that male, confident dealing with situations when you deal with relationships and other people. Why? Because sales has kind of ripped off that veil where you're not afraid of actually talking to people about hard situations. The people who make it great in sales, and now you're going to say, Leon, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to cold call people. I don't want to. There's different types of sales positions. I've worked everything from a W-2 sales to a 1099 sales. So keep that in mind. There's always a sales position to meet you where you're at. But depending on the sales position, it's going to determine also if you're doing 80, 85, or like she said, 130, 215. It's not based on your color. It's not based on your ethnicity. I've seen women outsell people, men on sales teams, blowing them out of the water, blowing them out of the water. So don't say it's a sex thing, or I'm female and they won't let me in and all this different things. It breaks the boundaries when it comes to not just income, but connecting with people. Because people don't care about you if you have a product that they like. Now, you do want them to know, like, and trust you in order to sign on a dotted line or do business with you. But that's less of an issue or struggle when you're presenting something of value to them. And that's what sales is. We're finding out how to plug our value proposition into the lives of that CEO, CFO types. Now, there's two different types. You've got B2B sales, and then you got B2C sales, where we're dealing with the public in B2C, and B2B, where we're dealing more with, like I said, that CEO, CFO type of person.
That for life if you invested smartly and if you didn't blow it all on spending. Number 4, the thing I want to say about sales, why it's such a powerful job for people in their 20s, is that in your 20s, supposedly, because you don't have kids, because you don't have a lot of other things like, let's say, an ailing parent at that age, most likely, you will have a lot of time to spend at work. So all of that time you are getting back in your ROI, return on investment. The time that you are investing into sales, you are going to get that money back in the form of commissions. Sales is a life-changing job. It changed my life. I wish more people really thought about this as a career because, yeah, STEM jobs are fine. I could never do those jobs because A, they bore the shit out of me, and B, I could never get one of those jobs because the benchmark is so high. Like, you have to really be excellent at technical skills. And like I said, I'm not interested and I'm not good at those things. So if you realize very early on that you're a hard worker, that you are decent at yapping, reading, and writing, then sales might be actually a very good career for you. And no, you don't have to go to get an MBA, and you don't need any other advanced degrees except bachelor's as well.
Yeah, I've seen guys come into sales do very
You in high
good
school?
when it came to without any degree. And that's one thing that's great about sales. It's more about you learning the process that that company offers or that they're trying to teach you in delivering their solution to the public or to that individual. Um, and it's less about you being the most educated, knowledgeable person in the room, even when it comes to that product. Even when it comes to the product. I've seen guys go into sales with 4-year degrees and even advanced degrees and flunk at it miserably. But then I've seen them also go into sales on corporate sales and do phenomenal. So it's not a degree, no degree type of position, but it does give you the ability to scale to a position where you may not have a degree, but you still get offered regional sales manager. I became a district sales manager for a top security company. at one point in time, managing a team of about 5 to about 10 people, just depending on the given month and who decided they wanted to actually sell. You get what I'm saying, right? So the potential, it's out the door. Even when it comes to relocating, you're like, Leon, I see a sales company and I like it, but I'm living in Texas and they're in Florida. That's cool. If that company believes in you and it may be worth you relocating, and if you already start working in that company on a basic sales level, they can even relocate you for that next advanced level. I've had that happen to me too. They sales company relocated me from Florida to Georgia to take over a territory. So all these things are possible, and we keep fitting our kids and we keep fitting ourselves into this box in society that says we have to get our degree, we have to do this, we have to do that. But we forget these soft skills that I believe in this time it's going to be necessary or requirement for people to make the type of money that they need to make to keep their lights on, to keep their phones going, to take care of their kids' needs. It's not, for some people it's as simple as making one sale a day. For some people it's making one sale a week. Sometimes for some people it's making 50 sales in that month because they see that there's no threshold. There's no cap and they want to do that.
Or you fresh out of high school, bro, get into sales. It's either you get into sales or you get into a dealership, you work your way up, but you gotta get into sales, bro. Work your way up. You learn communication, you learn negotiation, you learn so many skills, and then by the time you turn like 2021, you gonna be making consecutive 10 plus bands a month, bro. Off of that commission. You gonna be like that, for real.
Mm-hmm. He's not playing. Like, we were able, me and my wife at one point in time, both in sales, man, were able to do 6 figures a piece with no base salary. So it's looked at as being something that's lesser than, but the reality of it is it's a requirement, even if you're not going to be in a direct sales position. Knowing how to present a product, a service, or something of value to someone that may potentially need it, or to really assess them to see if they do need it.
I believe all jobs are racist, and the only way for
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, John, calm down, calm down. All jobs are racist? All right, I threw this in here on purpose, honestly. I saw this very first part, but I didn't see the rest of the video. I want to know, I hope she expounds on why she feels all jobs are racist. I don't believe all jobs are racist. I believe all jobs aren't for everybody. I mean, that's the truth. When you say jobs as far as the people that are there being racist, I mean, I don't know if she's saying that, if she's saying I mean, is she really, let's see.
a woman of color to actually be free is if they learn the power of sales.
A woman of color to actually be free. I would disagree with that, but let's keep rocking.
By sales, I mean selling their own products and services. And you can sell 3 things: a service, a product, or your own intellectual property. The thing is, we all have these gifts. We're just giving them to our 9-to-5s. You got that big promotion because you were giving your intellectual property.
Okay, so she's talking more on intellectual property. But okay, but still, you're giving that 9 to 5 job because you sat in front of the employer and you convinced them that you were the best person for the job. Now imagine sitting in front of someone and convincing them that this product is the best product for them. See, the more you sit in front of those people, the easier it becomes. But I don't want to take away from what she's saying. Let's finish it.
Successful engineer or chef because you give them your product. Get that paycheck every 2 weeks because you give them a service. You're already giving away your service, products, and intellectual property away. You're just not giving it to yourself.
I would say you're not packaging it. You're not identifying it, packaging it, and then selling it and distributing it. So selling, when I say letting someone know that it's there and showing how to meet their needs, and then distributing it, this distribution, which is getting it into their hands. Okay. So when she's talking about this, just for you guys that want to know about digital products and things like that, she's talking about creating and then selling what you create. What I'm always talking about, sometimes some people can't, what I'm always saying is sometimes some people can't sit back and create a digital product from scratch. But you can't find a digital product and actually sell it. Sometimes that means you take a W-2 job. Sometimes it doesn't mean that. But if you believe in what you are selling, to me, that is what convinces people more than anything. You have to have that level of persuasion where they're so persuaded, you're persuaded, and you're persuaded that, and they're so persuaded that heck, I'm just going to do business with you.
Imagine if you took all of your gifts, you learned how to sell, and you built your own wealth. When I mastered this, I went from a social worker making $2,500 a month to an entrepreneur making $100K a month. I'm living my ancestors' wildest dreams. So quit the racist job and finally start your business.
I don't know if it's my ancestors' wildest dream, but hey, she's right on that, 100%. And then also in the course of this, I'm telling you, if you're in real estate or you're trying to get in real estate or you're interested in real estate, hence Real Estate Lunchbox, um, I would say sales is what you need to master before you master anything. Real estate is less about products, less about numbers, less about houses, and more about people. And people are moved by selling. That's really what it comes down to. And listen, I did a blueprint on it, 6-figure real estate investor agent, how to actually work with investors, to find them, work with them, and to build a 6-figure income. The link is below. Go check it out. Let's go to the next one. And this is a PDF.
Okay, business is 3 parts. Create a problem, identify a solution, and then sell the solution. That's business.
I would say identify a problem, identify a solution, create a solution, and present that solution. We see it a little different, but it's cool.
For dummies, okay? But when you take sales is the last 2 on steroids. And they go hand in hand. So sales is, you don't have to create a problem because somebody already has the problem and they're already looking for a solution. Your job is to show them the solution and sell the solution. Sometimes versus, other solutions, but saying, here's your solution and here's why this is going to work for you right now. If you pay me, this is what you're going to get.
Hold on. I know this is in the middle of the video, but is her car seat pink and white? I mean, I saw the seats being pink and white, but is the roof pink and white also? Damn. I mean, I think it's dope. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? I like the feminine energy. That's fly. Dude, you can tell she's doing some sales numbers at least.
That's sales. That's why I always say, sales is the gateway drug to entrepreneurship. Every single entrepreneur started out in some form of sales. Why? Because they go hand in hand. You can't be good in business, let alone start a business without knowing sales. Because business is sales, knowing how to sell, but then creating a very specific new problem and identifying a solution and selling the solution to that problem. Yup.
Selling a solution to that problem. That's it. That's the fastest
I
way
work
to
in tech
get to the
sales.
bag.
I've been doing it for a past year and a half. And the hack that tech sales is to your life is pretty nuts. If you're just semi-good at talking to people, you're personable, you can keep a conversation going, and at the end of the day, you can learn about whatever product is you're selling. The amount of money you can make while still working from home, like I am right now, is pretty nuts compared to jobs that require medical degrees, law degrees. If you're just good at grinding and selling stuff, please, guys in your 20s specifically, the most underrated job, I would say. I'd pick it over finance.
Yeah, and I'll take it over anything. Just to interrupt homie for a second, I'll take it over so many different other careers that are out there. And it will blow your mind how many attorneys that you meet that you make more money than they do because you do sales. I am not lying. And it's probably the most underrated, highly intimidating, well, it's not truly intimidating. The message is that this is an intimidating space. And it's not. It really isn't. If you just like people, if you don't mind talking to people, if you just got that ability, this might just be the best bet for you.
I think finance is kind of boring. It's fun, man. You're just chatting all day and you're closing deals. It's a great time.
Yep. Great time. Closing deals. Hey guys, I wanted to share this with you because as the market shifts and it does what it's going to do, and we don't control the market, but one thing we do control, and I'm going to tell you, is we control ourselves. We control what we put our hands to. We control how we see ourselves. And one thing they won't say, which is true, nobody says it a lot, but sales helps you with self-development, putting yourself in a situation that is uncomfortable sometimes, a lot of times, initially, can actually help you make six figures, because more and more you put yourself in that situation, the more you develop the muscle to actually overcome, to work through it, to become better at it. So don't close your mind on sales. Don't think that this is not a six-figure opportunity when the market is shifting. Now, let's get to this other portion. I woke up and I saw Anthrop getting kicked out of the Pentagon. And I like to call my brother and some people that I know that's deeper into the space, especially government side, that can give me a better input, but I haven't yet. So I'm probably going to do a follow-up number 2. My brother's probably sleeping. But at the end of the day, Anthropic AI, let's draw back and say AI. First, let's get into what Anthropic is, because I'm about to jump and tell you about Anthropic. I pulled this video before we talk about what the Pentagon's doing with Anthropic, why that's, I'm not even going to tell you what I feel about it until we play the video. First, let's start with what Anthropic is.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of AI with a spotlight on Anthropic's Claude. Whether you're new to AI language models or curious about how Claude fits into the broader picture of artificial intelligence, this video will give you a comprehensive understanding. The title of today's video is, What is Anthropic's Claude? By the end, you'll know what Claude is and understand its purpose in steerable and safer AI systems than many currently available models. The company is committed to making AI models more easily aligned with human intentions and values. Claude is one of their key projects in this effort, aiming to offer an AI model that performs well and does so in a safe and understandable way. You may be familiar with other AI models such as OpenAI's GPT or Google's LaMDA, which also focus on natural language processing. These models are trained on vast amounts of data and can generate human-like text, answer questions, assist with creative tasks, and even code. Claude operates in a similar space, but with a significant difference in focus. Anthropic's goal with Claude is to ensure that the AI behaves in a predictable, ethical way and aligned with human values.
Okay, so let's step this back, because I pulled this video and I don't like how it's actually giving you a rundown of it. Let's do this real quick. What is Anthropic? You gotta change this up sometimes. The best way to learn about AI, I tell people, is actually to use AI and let AI tell you about AI. I know that's confusing, but it's true. So it founded in 2021. Is the flagship model is Claude, like this video is actually aligning with. Okay, it focuses on AI safety, clear reliability, and alignment, making AI behave predictable and ethically. Now, the Pentagon took this model and put it into work, and I think Anthropic, they're years ahead of OpenAI in various forms. I mean, being adapted already to and working in the government system, Anthropic is probably one of the most forward-thinking companies. And if I had to put my money between, hey, do I put it into OpenAI? Do I put it in Anthropic? Do we go with Grok? I will put it with Anthropic after everything I've learned. Now, do I use Claude as much? I use Claude more for just communicate, taking whatever I write, and if I feel, or taking whatever ChatGPT gives me, and if I feel that it's too mechanical, I will put that same piece into Anthropic, and Anthropic will give me the human response to it, so it feels more natural. I think Anthropic, I would sum it up and say, is probably the most natural large learning model that's out there. What you can actually do is train large AI models that understand and generate text, analyze documents, write code, and reason through problems. So writing code, if you're going to be doing like I think Anthropic's platform is the best when it comes to actually writing code, also for websites or even for apps. Provide AI tools to businesses via APIs and enterprise products. research how to make powerful AI safer and more controlled. So why they matter? They're one of the main contributors shaping the current AI landscape along other major labs. This angle is powerful AI plus strong safety guardrails for the start. If you want, so it was, I can get why the Pentagon would actually put Anthropic, would allow Anthropic to be their first and largest large learning model that they pivot all these systems on. So fast forward, Pentagon adopts Anthropic in. Trump does this big push right now where he said yesterday, today's Saturday, the 28th, he gave the ultimatum to him, I think on the 27th, yesterday, 5 p.m., that Anthropic literally had to turn over everything and conform, removing some of these safety guardrails that they've already put in place that's existing in current Pentagon systems, softwares, processes. Okay, so let's go with this. This is the founder CEO, Anthrop. Let's go.
We appreciate you taking the time. You are Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Great. Well, my first question to you is why won't you release Anthropic's AI without restrictions to the U.S. government?
Yeah, so, we should maybe back up a bit for a little bit of context. So, Anthropic actually has been the most lean forward of all the AI companies in working with the U.S. government and working with the U.S. military. We were the first company to, put our models on the classified cloud. We were the first company to make custom models for national security purposes. We're deployed across the intelligence community and the military for applications like cyber, combat support operations, various things like this. And, the reason we've done this is, I believe that we have to defend our country. I believe we have to defend our country from autocratic adversaries like China and like Russia. And so we've been very lean forward. We have a substantial, public sector team. But I have always believed that, as we defend ourselves against our autocratic adversaries, we have to do so in ways that defend our democratic values and preserve our democratic values. And so we have said to the Department of War that we are okay with all use cases, basically 98 or 99% of the use cases they want to do, except for two that we're concerned about. One is domestic mass surveillance. There, we're worried that things may become possible with AI that weren't possible before. An example of this is something like taking data collected by private firms, having it bought by the government, and analyzing it in mass via AI. That actually isn't illegal. It was just never useful before the era of AI. So there's this way in which domestic mass surveillance is getting ahead of the law. The technology is advancing so fast that it's out of step with the law.
And that's the big key point right there. When they're trying to push Anthropic, in my opinion, to do something that won't affect us immediately, but it will affect us down the line. So when you look at these large learning models, you're dumping all this data and consumer information into it to come to a understanding of consumer habits, where you are. I mean, shoot, I think it was one app that was AI generated, kept alerting me when my wife came home. I was like, damn, this is really, it's okay, but then it's wrong. It's uncomfortable, because I know that means they definitely know. So what about if the government has access to that type of information? Anthropic is one of those companies, very rare, and I think this is, I'll give them props on this. They're trying to empower the country by being competitive on a global scale, because China's already doing it. You got to realize China is in that place where their AI companies, they all are servant to the Republic of China, okay? I mean, it's their responsibility to create that tech, yes, to sell to the world, but then to use it for Chinese surveillance on what? Chinese people and the world. Anthropic is against that, which is great, but they're also against the usage of it to be in mass surveillance of its citizens. So probably one of the only companies that tries to do this on both levels. You ever heard of burning the candle on two ends? Anthropic is actually trying to do that. Hold the government accountable, give them something with guardrails in place, while also using it to actually surveillance the world. Now, if we have autonomous drones, Anthropic, up until 5 o'clock yesterday, would have been the software that that type of technology is built on. So,
Case number one. Case number two is fully autonomous weapons. This is not the partially autonomous weapons that are used in Ukraine or could potentially be used in Taiwan today. This is the idea of making weapons that fire without any human involvement. Now, even those, I think that our adversaries may at some point have them, so perhaps they may at some point be needed for the defense of democracy. But we have some concerns about them. First, the AI systems of today are nowhere near reliable enough to make fully autonomous weapons.
and I agree with him on that. I mean, you can't even do certain prompts inside prompt chat GPT or even Gemini without experiencing what we call hallucinations. That means the information the output doesn't match what it should. So if my input is asking you to tell me what 1 + 1 is, and the output should be 2, and you're telling me it's 100, then we have an hallucination. And that's exactly what's taking place. So these AI platforms, regardless of how much they glamorize it, they are still prone to flaw. They're prone to flaw because the data that's in there can be flawed also. Okay. And so it takes time for that large learning model or for that AI to actually understand that the data that's given to it, oh, this is flawed. And the only way to get that is through human correction or through right data. So when you put that type of model onto an autonomous drone or something that you're going to use, for example, we're bombing Iran right now. We're taking out Iran, and you want to send in those autonomous drones to do your bidding. God, you got to realize that you're going to have a large amount. You're going to have error. You're going to have an error, and nobody's spoken about this. I haven't been able to find it. Nobody knows the percentage of error, but there will be errors. Is it worth it? He's obviously saying it's not.
Anyone who's worked with AI models understands that there's a basic unpredictability to them that in a purely technical way we have not solved. And there's an oversight question too. If you have a large army of drones or robots that can operate without any human oversight, where there aren't human soldiers to make the decisions about who to target, who to shoot at, that presents concerns. And we need to have a conversation about how that's overseen, and we haven't had that conversation yet. And so we feel strongly that for those two use cases should not be allowed.
The Pentagon has told us that they have agreed in principle to these two restrictions, and they wanted to strike a deal. Why couldn't an agreement be reached?
So there were, there were kind of several stages of this, all done quickly and kind of all determined by the kind of 3-day, the kind of very limited 3-day window that they gave us, right? They gave us an ultimatum to agree to their terms in 3 days, or be designated a supply chain risk or Defense Production Act. I guess we'll get to that later. But during that time, there were a few back and forths. At one point they sent us language that appeared on the surface to meet our terms, but it had all kinds of language like if the Pentagon deems it appropriate, or to do anything in line with laws. So it didn't actually concede in any meaningful way, and there were further steps of it that also did not concede in any meaningful way. We have wanted to strike a deal since the beginning. If you want to get a sense of the Pentagon's position of it, the Pentagon spokesman, Sean Parnell, the day before, he reiterated their position: we only allow all lawful use. And
so when you get into bed with I'm trying to figure out why they didn't think this through before they got into bed with the government. And I knew why, because they saw, I kind of know why, because they saw the dollar signs. I think their deal with the government right now is about 200 million. 200 million to be able to and build the school, the systems, the tools that are all necessary in order to defend our country. So when we get into the State of the Union address, and I'm making this I try to make this as simple as possible because I've been studying this AI thing for a while and using some of these tools and to create things and to make things, not just images. But one thing is clear. Just like any of these other programs that are out here, the guardrails that are in place, they are kind of designed to keep the system from going ham. They want the guardrails removed. Those guardrails can be the difference between somebody manipulating the system on the back end, unknowing to them once they put it, to create a mass type of monitoring system that may not be overtly that, but the data that's gathered can actually put it in position to be that. And I can understand why he would say that. I can understand why. See, Trump, as good as he is right now, he's dealing with an issue that a lot of us don't recognize. A lot of people, the average
And the Pentagon
American, isn't sitting back and considering the fact that we are at a AI arms race type of war, with China being the largest supplier of AI tools, developer of large learning models. Some people believe this is going to usher in the Antichrist. That some people believe it. Some people believe the mark of the beast. If you believe that, which I do, I believe the mark of the beast exists. I believe Revelation is real. If you believe that, now you got to realize and you got to take it and say, do I want this autonomous instrument to run without guardrails, probably influenced by input from people that don't have my interests in mind, in order to defend me from a foreign regime whose system is kind of running without guardrails? Yeah, it is. Chinese AI will do everything from monitor their people walking into a store and collect the money out of their bank account if they take something from the store and they see what it is and it needs to be paid for. I mean, creating a social score, totally different. So this is the caveat. The left, I can tell off the top, against mass surveillance. I'm against it. I don't like mass surveillance. I felt like what happened, Department of Homeland Security, on the heels of 9/11, it did great things, but then it did a bunch of bad things also. It created a lot of issues. But you ask yourself the question, if we're allowing people to be in our country that are illegal immigrants, if we're allowing people right now to vote that are illegal immigrants, now how do we monitor the people that we just let run in randomly, potentially plotting to some terroristic event? How do we do that? If we're so against mass monitoring, if we're so against it, where is the line where we say the people that we let in, the people that are here, the people that don't like our country, we need to monitor? How do we go about doing that? That is the challenge, and I think it's always going to be that rift between the left and the right. And I agree with some portions of what the right says we need to know, and I agree with some portions of what the left said we need to respect privacy. But is it because we really need to respect privacy, or is it because we just don't want you to know what we're doing? So it's a very interesting topic.
Issued an ultimatum threatening to end its partnership with the AI company Anthrop. The company, which makes the chatbot Claude, faces a 5 p.m. deadline to agree with the Pentagon's terms for using their technology. But Anthropic's CEO has drawn a hard line, saying he cannot in good conscience give in to the Pentagon's demand and allow unrestricted use of its technology. Military officials warn that if the company does not comply, they run the risk of damaging their business. So for more on this, I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Selena.
Now, keep in mind, this was 5 o'clock yesterday. Anthropic gets pulled off, labeled a threat. That's going to affect the market huge. There's so many people invested in that company, or so many people invested in systems and tools that come from Anthropic. What's going to happen to that? You're shifting the market, and I think that it shouldn't go to Grok because it's too close to Elon Musk. I don't believe it should go to OpenAI. Believe it or not, Sam Altman does. He gives me these types of nutty professor type of like vibes that are really weird. Oh no! I'm telling you, like it's very weird. I don't know. When I heard this guy talk about God and how God fits into the place of AI, you go watch Sam Altman's interview when he talks about AI and I guess God in a way. Just Google Sam Altman and God. His interview, it made me a little nervous. Okay, I saw a guy that kind of wanted to rule the world through his AI model, and I may be crazy about it, but that's my opinion. Let's finish this.
Wang, who's been tracking this story for us. And Selena, as this is playing out, we are less than an hour out from this 5 p.m. deadline. The president is now weighing in on the situation.
Well, Alex, this may be the answer ahead of the deadline. Now, President Trump, he is announcing it. This is just moments ago on his Truth Social account, so I'm going to read it to you. He says, quote, "I'm directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology. We don't need it, we don't want it, and will not do business with them again. There will be a 6-month phase-out period for agencies like the Department of War who are using Anthropic's products at various levels." He goes on to bash Anthropic, calling it a left-wing nut job company, calling it a, quote, radical left AI company who have no idea what the real world is all about. So this is really this fight that has been going on for weeks now that I've been reporting on, really coming to a head. Earlier, the Pentagon had issued an ultimatum to Anthropic, essentially saying, agree to our terms for how to use our artificial intelligence, or we're going to terminate the contract and deem you a supply chain risk, essentially blacklisting them from doing work with the government. So we are hearing from the president here clearly this is his decision that there will now be no partnership with Anthropic, with the military, or any federal agency.
So I kind of suspect this is structuring for somebody else to take their spot intentionally, because the government knew. They knew. Trump may not have known when it came into it. He may, I don't know, but he knows now. Safety within that system, the guardrails within that system, like I said earlier, keeps it from running crazy, right? So think about it like this: if you compare Claude AI, a product of Anthropic, to OpenAI, Claude is more cautious, structured, analytical, strong at long reasoning chains and nuanced writing, tends to avoid risky and speculative claims. That's important because I've seen OpenAI run off and say some stuff to me, and I've seen Grok do the same thing based on the tier level that you have Grok on. Of course, it can be more cautious, but that's nervous in itself to me, because if you switch the button with Grok just a little bit, Grok starts talking to you like it's about to fight you in a back alley, and you're about to have a martial arts, like a karate fight or something. Oh no! Grok will cuss you out. Literally, if you go to Grok, well, you can ask Grok questions, and Grok is going to ask you, "How do you want me to respond to this? Like with intensity, or you just want me to be nice to you?" That's a scary thing, because that's going to tell me how far the large learning model can get from reality, the enhanced response, the enhanced output. ChatGPT, faster conversational flow, no lie, okay? More flexible across tasks and types, no lie. Better to adapt tones, sales, marketing, persuasive content. That's true. I've used it for that also. I prefer it for creating the first, let's say if we're talking about text or conversation, and then taking it over to Claude, where it can make it more natural and normalized and connect to a person. It's not so mechanical. Claude just does that. So why do we turn around and take a system that has guardrails in place and say that we need to remove that system and put in another system that the guardrails have already been determined they need to be worked on? You've got kids who are on ChatGPT. I saw a report. Another kid got what did this do? The kid ended up killing himself because ChatGPT told him. It made it. Yeah. And it's worse when a lot of parents don't even know about AI or how to even navigate it. So you leave the kids to learning it. I don't think this is a good look. I don't think it's is strong at all. I feel like there's something else in play. You leave a comment, you tell me what you think. Shout out to my people over there on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Also, you guys over at Facebook, showing me love. I appreciate you guys also. Remember, like, subscribe, follow for more content. We are growing fast. I think we're doing somewhere between 500 and 600 new subscribers a month. And I want to continue telling you about stuff like this and bringing it to you because I'm not against AI at all. I think AI is what's necessary to take the mom that wants to start a small business but can't afford to hire a bunch of people to do it. She can take her product, her service, her thought, her whatever she put together, she can take it to market in record time using AI. But there is a level where it needs to be held responsible. So taking the guardrails off first when you talk about protecting the country and it working for us in autonomous warfare and I don't think this is a great play by Trump. I think at the end of the day, there's something else that's going on. It's not just Anthropic.
Well, and that label as being a supply chain risk is really significant. But can we back up for a second? Can you walk us through how we got here over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. I mean, essentially, this fight is about who's going to control the future of artificial intelligence use in the government and specifically in the military. Is it the company that is creating this technology or is it the government that's using it? And so this all transpired over these two critical red lines that Anthropic has drawn. Anthropic tells me that they have made it very clear that there are two use cases where they are against their AI being used. Number one is for mass domestic surveillance, and the second one is fully autonomous weapons. Sounds reasonable. You want a human making the final targeting decision on the battlefield, not artificial intelligence. Anthropic tells me that the Pentagon has refused to sign off on language that would commit them to not using AI for those use cases. The Pentagon has argued that they should have discretion to be able to use this technology in all lawful cases.
Well, and certainly they're putting.
Now, we know government mass surveillance is illegal, but we do also know that if the government needs to tap into a phone line or to surveil text messages, conversations without you knowing through a court order from a judge, they can do it. Now, what about if they're able to take all of your movement through your watch, your phone, your conversations, your streams, your post on social media, throw it into Anthropic, now say, tell me, what do you think is the next move that this person is going to make? Now we're getting into predictive analytics. Now these things, which are already producing output from information given to it, is now honed down on a specific event, sort of like what Palantir does. Palantir takes all that information and it puts it in there. Now, Palantir says it's not backed by any type of AI, but honestly, Palantir in itself, I think, is an AI company. You tell me what you think about that. But at the end of the day, when I sit back and I see the bombs that are taking place in Iran, I can understand why Trump would want this. He would want to be able to do what needs to be done, not having to go through the company to do it. Because if the company says, hey, we can't give you access to, let's say, to this type of output that would allow these autonomous drones to bomb around this area because it puts citizens or people here in jeopardy. Who wants to hear that when you're waging war against your enemy? The fact is, we're in a real weird place right now because China has no restraints. There's no restraints on China. China, imagine one organism as an organism just devouring anything that comes into its place. Because you hear all these reports about China falling off, but let's be for real, China has not fell off. If anything, the heels of the AI race, because you don't have these boundaries, you don't have people in your government telling you, no, you can't do it. You don't have people out here, no, you can't do it. The same freedom can also be our own demise. Yeah. And that's what we're experiencing right now. So many people saying yes, no, in the battle. At the same time, China's beating us on that AI arms race. NVIDIA, I mean, we're getting crushed. I don't care what they say. Anthropic is probably one of the best solutions to get us to an autonomous fighting war force before China even gets there. But we can't use it now because when you have this pushback. So Trump, for him to call, hold on, what is the one that he calls? Hold on.
The Pentagon wants to unleash Anthropic's Claude AI.
He's looking at it right now as a left-wing nut job of an organization.
System for military uses. It's demanding that the company agree to some controversial changes by 5 p.m. tonight. Anthropic has so far rejected that deadline. Now, the dispute appears to be about the Pentagon's desire for unrestricted access for military use and Anthropic's desire to restrict use in some cases. Washington Post reporter Tara Kopp joins us live right now. We appreciate your time.
I'm curious why they won't outline the cases and then create sub reasons in those cases, like sub objectives, like, hey, yeah, we can't do it in this case, but if this case happened, we can do this. There's so many different ways this can be done. And Trump is a hard-ass negotiator. So when he says it's out, yeah, he says it's out 6 months to pull it off. You got to realize if you take 6 months to pull them off Anthropic, you're also talking about probably 6 months to 12 months to actually integrate the systems into the Pentagon systems, government systems, with another AI. Because you need an AI large learning model to pivot these systems off of. You need it. Just like if you were considering Bitcoin, just like Ethereum is the chain that all these other blockchains are built on, and some of these other tools and tokens are built on. You need something to pivot off of. This is why I think this is going to be the most catastrophic thing that we do. It's going to determine if they don't come back with some type of solution, even though we're past that 5 o'clock mark, if we don't come back with some type of solution, when you bring in any other model right now, you're introducing a model without guardrails and hasn't been crafted from birth to actually respect human life, I guess you would say it, or respect certain, or have certain rules that it abides by.
Today, Tara. So what is the Pentagon asking for here, and what restrictions is Anthropic trying to maintain?
Good morning. Well, the split between Anthropic and the Pentagon right now really centers on two uses. Fully autonomous, meaning AI makes all of the decisions, and whether its technology can be used in mass domestic surveillance. Those two are both red lines for Anthropic. And in the last couple of weeks, as our story this morning has unfolded, the Pentagon and Anthropic have been having private conversations about hypothetical situations. And one hypothetical situation that really kind of illustrates just how far apart these two parties are, the Pentagon's chief technology officer, Emil Michael, asked Anthropic a hypothetical. If an ICBM, a nuclear warhead, were launched and was heading towards the United States, would Anthropic allow its technology to defend the US? And Anthropic's answer, and this whole conversation has been disputed by both sides, I should caveat that with this. Anthropic's reported answer, according to DoD, was they said, give us a call and we'll talk through it. Anthropic.
No, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. And he didn't say that in an interview, so I can get why. I would feel that way if I was and I've been prior military. If I'm in a position of leadership and I need to know if this technology is going to be a defense to the soldiers in my platoon, the soldiers in my unit, or even the civilian population that I've sworn to protect, and you're going to tell me, give you a call and we can talk more about that. And it's really simple. A nuclear warhead headed towards your country. You should tell me yes at that time. I should not get something from you like, there will possibly be an answer we can talk about and give me a call. That's BS. That's BS. And regardless of how much of a safety guardrail is in place, you're telling me that it's not in place to protect the people that built the systems. It's in place to protect who? What? So who is it protecting now? Who? It's not protecting us.
Has disagreed with this and said we would be okay with missile defense. But these two sides are not communicating clearly. You're seeing them have a war on social media. A lot of different parties, including lawmakers, are trying to get involved behind the scenes to get them back on the same page. But it really is stemming from mistrust by AI, which has some pretty stiff ethical guardrails on how its technology will be used, and the Department of Defense, which is looking at a really powerful tool and saying, we need this to provide the best defense for our country.
So, Tara, you say these two sides, they are not communicating clearly, but Anthropic has, what, until 5:01 p.m. tonight to decide. So what is at stake here if Anthropic does not comply?
They might lose all of their business with the government. The Pentagon has threatened that if Anthropic does not comply, it will look not only at Anthropic's contract, which would likely be canceled, but it would look at any other vendor that is using Anthropic's AI in its weapons platforms. And AI is used throughout the Department of Defense right now. Anthropic was the first, it was kind of the groundbreaker who got into classified networks. Others like Grok will follow and also be in classified networks, but Anthropic was really groundbreaking in this sense. And so if Anthropic loses its contract with the Pentagon, and potentially last night that also escalated to maybe losing all government work, it could be significant for the company. However, we've been watching, and the response to Anthropic taking a stand on this has been really lauded by not only the public, but by other AI companies who are, and other novel technology companies who are saying, you know, if you're creating this product, you should be able to have some control over how it is used.
I'm curious, Tara, can the government use this AI system anyway without Anthropic's approval?
There's a possibility of that. Experts are split. So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has also threatened that if Anthropic does not comply by 5:01 tonight, he may invoke the Defense Production Act. That's the same act that compelled firms during the pandemic to produce ventilators. And in that example, the companies did not have a choice over, you know, where those ventilators went or how they were used. They were just told to produce them. There's an argument that that same type of authority could be applied to Anthropic, but other experts have said, you know, this is a software. The DPA was really meant for hardware and for actual weaponry or raw materials, not a software that changes every single day and is in some ways a different product every single day because it is learning, it is being fed data and information, and can take a whole lot of different forms. So, I mean, that would be the next fight if at 5:01 there is an impasse.
So what could this ongoing disagreement ultimately mean for other AI firms?
It's having a chilling effect. You know, these firms invest a lot in developing their proprietary product and in how they're training AI and what they want, particularly these large language models to be able to do. But again, you know, the Defense Department and the government is one of the big buyers and big spenders, and a lot of these companies are very excited to work with the government. So I think that each firm will have to come to its own agreement and decide with its own shareholders and decide with the public what its own red lines will be.
So a lot of companies can lose money on this, not just Anthropic. I'm gonna keep monitoring this because I also believe at the end of the day, Trump is probably Anthropic is gonna make some concessions, 200 million, and that's just the Pentagon contract. We're not talking about the other companies that actually licensed Anthropic to actually build their platforms on that large learning model. They can be out if they're doing work for the government, millions or billions of dollars. So it's worth keeping an eye on. Let's let's go to this other one, man. Let's look at this. Saturday morning, I'm walking. First thing I hear is United States is blowing up Iran.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing.
Okay, so he's going to do a whole rundown on Iran and why Iran, doesn't deserve to be in existence. Well, that regime of Iran doesn't. But before I even get in, because there's so much on this right now, and it's actually happening while we're talking about it, right? I think a lot of people don't even understand. And I'm going to go back to that press conference because I got some other videos and it's highlighted in there and Trump's talking about just different pieces in there. But I think a lot of people don't realize Iran was like the Las Vegas of the Middle East before United Emirates or any of these other places became what they are today. But check it out.
You probably won't believe this, but this was Iran. The same Iran we now associate with headscarves, morality police, and strict religious laws. It's the 1970s, Tehran. Women walked the streets without hijabs. They wore skirts, went to work, studied in universities. There were open beaches, movie theaters, nightclubs, Western fashion, and alcohol, all completely legal. Back then, Iran was one of the most Western-oriented countries in the Middle East. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was modernizing the country, building schools, hospitals, highways. Foreign tourists flew to Iran for vacation, and Iranian women were becoming ministers, doctors, even pilots, before it was mainstream in much of Europe. Iranian women gained the right to vote in 1963, earlier than in some European countries. Iran had one of the best healthcare systems in the region, including free care for the poor, shopping malls, Western brands, luxury boutiques, all available in major cities. And globally, Iran was seen as a U.S. ally. But in 1979, everything changed.
Yeah, everything changed. Now, listen, I'm getting updates. I got someone right now. She just hit the airport that I know. 24 hours. I didn't even know she was in Iran. And she's flying out Qatar Airways. She said, we just got out the nick of time. They're literally blowing up. Dude, this is actually crazy. Is crazy. She's actually, like, she posted the bombs are just going off in different places. We're just out the airport, literally on our way home. Just wanted to post it. For what I get, these are students that are outside of the Shah's residence. Now, they are suspecting that he's already been killed in their initial attack, but nobody's confirmed it. But they're outside celebrating, and I think that's kind of risky because over the last 30 days, 60 days, they've been killing Iranians left and right, bro. They brought in, I read one report, they actually brought in trained militias from other countries in order to bring down, lower or suppress their protesting. Tell me if the word I use is right. Leave a comment. Wow, so they're out there screaming, love America. Thank you, love America. Crazy.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So this is the U.S. Naval 5th Fleet Services Center. This is an American base they hit. This is American base. Dude, this is... Wow. 5th Fleet. That's the 5th Fleet. scariest part is I think Americans take our freedom for just granted. I think the same freedom that we take, I keep saying, is the same thing they're using to hold us as slave, like trying to enslave us, break us down through our own freedom. This is
साइड पे हो जाओ, साइड पे भागो।
Oh snap! Wow! I literally, you saw that missile, you saw that drop. Did you see that?
Oh my God!
Did you see?
जाओ साइड पे भागो।
Look at the missile actually drop from the sky. Boom, it's coming down. They running, they see it. Wow. This is a little, to me, this is a little confusing.
Oh my God.
Because you see people in the street dancing and happy, then you see other ones running for freaking bombs dropping.
Guys, look at other, look at other, look at other, look at other. Anything here?
Wow.
Oh my God. बिल्कुल मेरे रूम के सामने। या अल्लाह खैर।
Wow. Let's go. Let's cover what they say.
Explosions rocked multiple cities across Iran, including its capital, Tehran. Videos from Tehran show smoke. You see it here billowing over the city. And now we're getting reports of explosions in Gulf Arab countries hosting U.S. military bases. Live look now at Abu Dhabi, where explosions were reported, in addition to Bahrain and Qatar.
Wow, so they're launching missiles as far as Abu Dhabi, Qatar. Wow. So Iran's shooting missiles. The U.S. is deflecting missiles. Israel's getting hit. Israel's planning an assault. I don't care what nobody says about this. This is no way that this is going to happen in a couple of days. It's no way. Iran has been entrenched there for years. I mean, imagine you can't even take out roaches in a house in one night. Like, you got to spray it, bomb it. And in many cases, if it's a heavy influence, you got to bomb that shit multiple times. Oh, no. That's how I know this is not going to be quick. This isn't going to be quick. And I knew it. It's not going to be quick. When 9/11 hit, I was on base and I walked into the cafeteria, and I looked at the screen and I saw like the buildings on fire, and I thought it was a video game. And I said, "Turn off! Why are we playing video games?" And I'm a sergeant at that time. It's like, Sergeant Duncan, no, this is real. And you know the first thing my NCOIC told me? He said, this is not going to be quick. He said, this is going to be months, if not years. I don't see how we can do this that fast. So nobody's been able to actually say if the Shah has been killed or anything. Nobody can say that if the supreme leader has been killed through that initial bombing, unless they're keeping it under wraps.
A video now of an explosion in Bahrain. Officials say a missile hit the service center of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet in the country. These strikes happened barely a day after the latest round of indirect nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. And sources tell CNN the U.S. military is planning for these attacks to last for days. Israel said the same, and both
I would say for weeks, if not months. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong.
Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are now calling for regime change.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home.
Your hour's at hand.
It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Yeah, Iran media reported just hours ago that Iran already launched dozens of ballistic missiles at Israel. And Qatari officials say that Qatar already intercepted 2 Iranian missiles, indicating Iran is carrying out that plan to retaliate. And our team is up and covering this breaking story from around the world. We'll get to Zach Cohen and Elena Treen in just a moment.
So check this out. If they have a nuclear warhead and they haven't told anyone about it, there is an extreme situation where they would like that shit. Because they would rather take the U.S. and they would rather destroy themselves than yield to the U.S. These are how radical these people are, bro. These are how radical they are, even though they live in denial of not having weapons of mass destruction. I mean, we've been doing this already. This, to me, is like a flashback of Bush. We're back to this weapons of mass destruction conversation. We're back to taking over the Middle East. We're back to all these different, this other BS that we got out of. And I keep saying, if I had to vote for Trump again against Harris, I would still do the same thing. Do I agree with this? I can understand the need for this, but coming out of prior service, I don't necessarily agree with it, but then I understand why it's necessary. You got to see. Iran has been a pain in the ass for Israel and everyone around here. Half of the issues that we face with some of these radical people that come to our country that have already come through the border, it's because of Iran. The pushback that they were getting, Israel's gotten in the Gaza Strip, not being able to take Pakistan, is because of Palestine, because of Iran. Iran has their back, bro. Iran has their back. And as long as Iran has their back, you can't do too much in that region. So I don't think this is going to be an easy piece. And what is it for? Yes, it is for oil. When some of y'all out there, you're probably saying, man, they just want the oil. Yes, they do want the oil. I believe they want the same control of oil just like they got with Venezuela. Am I against that? Honestly, no. Because I see it from a larger scale. Even though it's uncomfortable as an American for me to say, okay, that's good. We're getting into another war. Or we got the backing of our allies. We're going to crush them, all this different stuff. If you compare us to what China has, compare the U.S. to China right now, China has access to so much more oil reserve. They can fuel their army past our armies, even though we have a stronger military. They have more allies in other regions. Mexico, cartel in Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're sitting back and taking this for granted. And the first thing I'm going to hear is probably some of the left people. Y'all going to be upset. Y'all, no, this is crazy. We can't do that. We always invading people's places. Bro, I think this is probably one of the last issues that are going to come up before China starts to invade Taiwan. China will invade Taiwan. They've already got their eyes on Taiwan. When do I think it's going to happen? This is my prediction. I think it's going to happen towards the end of Trump's presidency. I think it's going to be closer to that end where China is going to say, we're in a position, we don't have to deal with Trump, let's go get it. Now, Patrick Bet-David, PBD podcast, shout out to it, man, great podcast. The reason I threw him up here is because he's lived in Iran, and I like hearing people who have actually lived in Iran prior to this regime to get a good concept of what this country is actually like. Is it worth us going into it and doing this? I personally believe it is, but you look at it at a larger scale. We don't have a lot of allies. We've got allies in the Middle East. That's true. But those same allies that we have, this is a threat against them too. If you're talking about being able to control the Middle East and bring some level of stability, Iran does have to go. People don't like it. Y'all don't want to talk about it. Y'all want to act like, okay, there's America doing America stuff no more. Call me whatever you want to call me. I just think our country needs to dominate in all these fucking places. Because if you don't get that, if you don't get in a position of strength in the Middle East, if you don't get in a position of strength in South America, the threat that is China, which is definitely coming, without a shadow of a doubt, it's coming. whether you're talking about an EMP blast over the top of the country, whatever it is, whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. If you don't get yourself in that position, when that does occur, and then they say, "Hey, we got Taiwan, we got the chips that we need. We're coming for you now." You gonna have people in the streets in America like, "Oh God, we should have did something about this earlier." We can do it without infringing on them.
Sir, Daily Mail said Israeli media says growing indications that Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed in U.S. and Israeli airstrikes.
Yeah, so this report just came in again. This is allegedly. We'll go through a bunch of different people that we're talking.
That would actually give them cause to celebrate in the streets, right? Israeli media say growing indication that Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed in the U.S. and Israel strikes. I'm like, okay.
I get it. But Rob, I think it's a good idea. Just start off with casualties. This is not going to be ours. Vinny was saying it earlier a minute ago when we were talking. But he specifically said there could be casualties. And this is war. So it's not like it's not a war of what we're talking about. It's not what happened that was immediate going in Venezuela and leaving. I remember when he and I were speaking, he said to me, he says, every different mission, we have to stay fluid because things could change. But let me kind of go through some of the updates that's been given this morning. You know, normally when something like this happened, you would think they would attack in the middle of the night, say 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. This was a good point that Tom was making this morning, but the attack was around 8:15 their time, which means you wake up, you're having breakfast, boom, there's an attack. So it's not like it's a regular time. And for me, I lived in Iran, in the capital, when the war happened with Saddam, with Iraq, and I remember a lot of these stories, and it's tragic, but let me give you some of these updates. So that's one. They hit 3 Iran nuclear sites. They hit Fordo, they hit Esfahan, and they had Natanz. Reuters reports 6 bunker buster bombs on Fordo, 30 Tomahawk missiles at other sites described by Trump. According to Reuters, obviously the B-2 bombers were used, and they were involved. Tehran's strikes reported around University Street and Jamhuri areas as well. Multiple provinces, including Esfahan, Ilam, and Qom were hit.
Wow.
Confirmed hits in other countries from Iran. So Iran attacks out. Israel's been hit. There's been many clips of Israel being hit. Bahrain was hit. And I think a U.S. military base was hit. Qatar, UAE, one dead in UAE. Jordan was hit. Saudi Arabia. And they were also firing at U.S. bases in Saudi. And then AP reported that Iran's first launched the drones towards Israel, then struck U.S. installations in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and other locations. Wow. Bahrain has confirmed they struck on U.S.'s 5th Fleet Service Center. Rob, if you have that clip of hitting the 5th Fleet, you actually see the clip. There's a couple guys that are driving by the 5th Fleet.
I think we've already seen that 5th Fleet hit. That was crazy. Okay, shoot, let's look at it from another angle.
This is it. Is this the one? I think this is the one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, this is one of the clips that got hit. Right there. So, I mean, this is tragic, but it's a full-on war, and a lot of countries are now involved. But I'll continue. Iran state media reported that at least on one instance, again, remember, this is Iran saying this, 40 killed, 45 wounded in a strike on a girls' school in Mina.
And they're always going to lead with the casualties of civilians that were hit because they use civilians as their shield. Just no different. They use civilians as their shield. So they're always going to lead with that. We got to keep that in mind.
Person killed in Abu Dhabi. Russia called the strike an unprovoked. So remember, Russia's defending their side. France, UK, and Germany said they were not involved in the strike, but condemned Iran's retaliatory attacks, and they urged them to come to the table to negotiate. And in areas that have been targeted, according to the chief national security correspondent at Fox News, Jennifer Griffin, Iranian parliament, National Supreme Council, Ministry of Intelligence, Iranian's Atomic Energy Agency, cyber attacks have taken place on news agencies. The internet is out in Iran.
So they're not just doing a physical war attack. They're doing a cyber war attack. The most dangerous portion of this, I'm going to tell you, and this, even though I say it could take weeks, I think months to actually get that, to bring it down, if the leader has it, not if the supreme leader hasn't been killed already. If he's been killed, then of course, days before they take the country. You got to realize, what did they do in Venezuela? I saw so many reports coming from Venezuela on how the troops, they were so surprised in the technology that the U.S. used, which crippled their systems and in some cases made people, soldiers, people that were there, pass out. Completely pass out. That means they were stepping over bodies and stepping over people that were unconscious and couldn't render any type of fight or resistance against them. That level of technology hasn't even been spoken about yet. But I've been able to see different videos translated that the actual soldiers that were there for Venezuela were overtaken with the sheer force of the special ops that landed there. So you got to ask yourself the question, yeah, if the supreme leader is down, this could take days, possibly weeks at most, may not go into months if he's down. But if he is down, if he's not down, I think it's definitely going to take months to do it. Because, and this is, and I got to realize this is not Russia taking Ukraine. This is not Russia taking Ukraine at all.
Tough for civilians to be able to communicate and see what's going on around the world, as well as, you know, what updates are taking place. They don't know what the news is saying about them. Defense minister targeted allegedly, head of the judiciary targeted allegedly, and that's very important because that was the one that was, you know, putting a lot of many death sentences on protesters. So he's a very, very vicious guy. He's like an Alexandre de Moraes.
So if you don't know, over the last couple of weeks, 2 months, you got somewhere between 40, I think the total went up to as 60,000 people unaccounted for, killed in protests in Iran. These are Iranian citizens.
Except wars of Brazil in Iran. And then they've obviously, you know, targeting Ali Khamenei. Of course, we'll be looking at things as we're going through this. But let me give you an idea from me. I'm getting messaged by a lot of people. Hey, media, hey, can you come on? Can we come? Also, a lot of different friends, family from around the world that are messaging. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? This is what I can tell you. The video that resonates with me the most was seeing videos of Iranians dancing in Iran. And I don't know if you've seen this, so think about it. Everybody that says anything, it's opinions. But people that are in there in Iran, it's a different story. They hate this regime.
It's a different
80+% of Iranians hate this regime. They want it to be gone. They want to be free. They want to enjoy themselves just like you that's watching this. Think about the basic freedoms you have right now that's watching this show. You have an opinion. You want to say certain things. You want to be free. You want to go out. You want to enjoy yourself. You don't have those luxuries in Iran. Watch this clip of people in Iran celebrating dancing. And by the way, these videos are coming from all over the place in Iran. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. I think we saw this one. That's
They're dancing, they're celebrating. You can pause it right there, Rob. That's a form of art. They want to be free. They want to be free. What is wild about this whole thing is, Rob, I sent you a picture from 70s of Iranian women supporting Khamenei coming in. And this picture, Rob, I think you have it. You have it somewhere. You'll find it right there to the left. If you go right there to the left, that one right there. When you see these pictures, I understand these pictures, and I'll tell you why I understand these pictures. This is leftist Iranian women celebrating Khomeini's arrival in 1979 and how he was supposed to be a peaceful Gandhi, modern day. Everything was going to be great. And then he later killed 30,000 leftists. He executed them. By the way, I say this, and the reason why this is very close to me is because my mother was one of them that was outside protesting. My mom and my dad were married. My dad was against Khomeini coming back. My mother was supportive because there was a party in Iran called the Two-Day Party. And they said, no, these rich people, all this oil, look what they're doing with all this oil money. And so what if Iranians have more freedom? But look what they're doing. Khomeini's going to come back. And he said to us, we're all going to get free phones. We're all going to get free food. We're all going to get free rice. This is his message that he was given to them.
I think that says it all right there. We're getting that same message from Zoran Mandani. We're getting that message from the Democratic Party, from the left in America. We need free this, we need free that. New York is what it is right now because there's not enough free stuff. And I got a comment. Are you down for democratic socialism? No, I'm not. I'm never going to be down for democratic socialism, regardless of the promises that they make, because democratic socialism is just another example, another type of beast that showed up at the doorsteps in Iran and claimed that the people needed that. They were living free lives, growing and prospering, and somebody said, you've got a majority, you got a minority, you got people over here that are suffering, and you guys are wrong because you're making money and they're suffering. Capitalism isn't perfect, but one thing capitalism will do is develop character. It would develop your creativity. It would develop, it will give you aspirations. It'll make you aspire to something better. It'll make you grab hold of God and say, Lord, what do you have for my life? This is nothing more, and this is why I'm cool with this happening. Because I feel and I see this is what happens when you do put a type of socialist government in place. And again, I'm going to tell you, they're not socialist at all. They're probably the extreme. It's extreme. It's a dictatorship. We know that. But it was presented under the guise of socialism, spreading the wealth. People need to be taken care of. And then next thing you know, they replaced the leader, for they felt the grass was greener on the other side. 30,000 massacred, a regime that's been in place for the last 45 years. 45 years. I feel for it. Because when I see these pictures from Iran, I'm like, dude, that place looks beautiful. Dope. But not no more. Now, there's the other side of the argument that says Trump isn't really holding to his pledge. Trump pledged that America will be first and America would not go into any wars. America would settle. I think, and this is my opinion, yeah, Trump pledged that. The reaction is we're quick to give an argument about what a politician didn't do. We don't give them props for what they did do. And we don't even look at the situation and say it's fluid. We may come in 2 years and say, listen, we're not going to do any war. But then this idiot turns out there and he does something that compels the hand. Or do we now stick with that promise? Do we now turn around and say, oh, well, we promised you, so we won't do it. We'll let that threat just stay there because we made a promise to the people. I think you have to be fluid. I think you have to be able to pivot. I think it doesn't make you a bad person from changing your stance slightly in this. But I also believe when he's changed his stance, the amount of power to make sure that it's done and done really fast, you cannot say in any way, shape, or form that he's dragging his feet. You can't. Because, and I did this post yesterday, I hate lawyers running our country because they turn around and they do the most, what would you call it? They do the worst stuff. Somebody that's tactically advanced would come in and say, listen, we want to destabilize, cripple, take them out as fast as possible. How do we go about doing it? And then they get all the plans. The ones who want to actually debate with them and they're scared of what could possibly take place, how they could be perceived by their citizens and their people, will say, well, how can we hit them and make a point? And I believe up until now, we've just been hitting them and making a point. I'm curious to see if this is the brand new world that the Iranians have been looking for and Americans have been waiting for and could possibly help our economy. Who knows? We'll see. Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. It's Saturday and I'm about to get out of this piece right here. I appreciate everybody that jumped into the live stream, everybody that turned around and left their message, their comment. Do all you got to do. I'll see you guys on the next video. Remember that God loves you. You're made in his image and his likeness. Keep winning, regardless of what the haters say.